Hey guys, welcome back. Sorry it's been so long. I had a concussion for quite a while, so today we're just going to be doing something nice and easy. Upgrading the Ender 3 to direct drive completely for free with a 3D printed part. Alright, as you can see, I have actually already installed this modification before. It's this silver piece here. It is printed out of PLA, and when I put it in an enclosure, it kind of melted. I knew that would happen. It melted printing the polycarbonate part I had in my hand before. There are lots of files for this on Thingiverse for different printers. So if you're trying to do it for a different printer, just go on Thingiverse and find it there. The link will be below. This is not my design. As you can see, I have one with the BL Touch installed. So to do this, it is actually pretty simple. So to remove the extruder from the mount over here, you simply undo the 4 screws that are in the top. So you got one in the arm, 2 down here, and 1 under here. As well as you need to undo the 2 housing screws, which you can't see because they're covered by wiring, as well as this screw in here. So I'll get this all taken apart and I'll show you what it looks like. Alright, now as you can see, I have removed the entire cooling fan and hot end assembly, as well as this wheel here, the V-rail wheel. So now if we're putting it back together, it is pretty straightforward. So first things first, what you need to do, I won't be able to do this one-handed, but this little cover, it will work if you print it out of PLA, but I recommend doing a higher temperature material. Lines up on these holes here, but if you look on the back, there's little grooves here that cover where these little tabs are. So the most important thing and what we should do first is line it all up and put this big bolt through. So I'll do that and then I'll show you guys what I mean. Alright, so as you can see, I got the big bolt here that mounts to the wheel. So for this, you're going to want to do it in the order of the printed part, the metal backplate that your hot end mounts to. Then you want to use the spacer that comes off of it, the wheel, and then the nut. So now what we need to do is you slide your fan cover underneath, and the holes should line up for mounting the fan cover. This is also, by the way, very loose right now so that it can still slide up underneath. So there should be a bolt here we need to put in and a bolt here. So I'll go do that and I'll be back when I'm done. Alright, now I've got the bolts in here and down here installed that were originally mounting the fan cover. So now we need to tighten this bolt here, and we need to hold it at a bit of a down angle so that it'll pinch back to its original position. And if we can't quite get it tight enough just by retightening the bolts, there is an eccentric nut on the bottom wheel here that we can tighten so that it all fits together properly. So once I get that done, I'll come back. Alright, now it's tightened, and as you can see, it's nice and sturdy. There's a little bit of wiggle to it, but that's to be expected. So now, normally what you would do is it's at the point when you would slide your extruder mount in. So what you need to do is I actually have the Micro Swiss hot end in here. I don't have the stock one. So I have a very short piece of PTFE tube that connects this, the heater block to this coupler. So what you need to do is you need to figure out what size PTFE tube you need so that all the holes on your mounts line up. As well as you want to insert the PTFE tube into your extruder and then push it down now so that it looks like this. Because if you try and mount this to your extruder motor and then put the PTFE tube in, it just does not work. So now what we need to do is we need to mount the extruder. And to do that, we start with this hole here, as that's the one that sits under the compression arm. And then we can add the compression arm and do the 2 screws on the bottom. Alright, as you can see, I got the extruder mounted with the screws here. Just be careful when you're mounting the arm screw here, as if you do it too tight, you won't be able to move the arm, and you won't get proper filament tension, and it won't extrude. I also mounted my BL Touch when I was off screen, as I kind of figured if you have a BL Touch, you know how to mount it. And then the last thing was to bring the extruder cable up to where the extruder is now. You can get away without making it longer. As you can see, it'll go all the way up and all the way over, but you do need to pay attention as the cable does get kind of tight here. This is the extruder cable. So I am probably going to be ordering a bit of an extension for it just so I can cut the slack out, and I'd like to tie the cables up over here just to make sure I have more than enough. Yeah, so now you might be asking yourself why we'll do this and what some test prints look like. So I'm going to go grab some of the test prints from before and after, and I'll be right back. Alright, so I've got 3 test prints here. We have before, after, as well as a TPU benchy. So now a lot of the reasons for a direct drive extruder are the shorter Bowden tube makes it easier to print things like TPU and other flexibles, as well as it helps prevent under extrusion, and it makes retractions more effective, easier to tune, all that kind of stuff. So here this is actually a glow-in-the-dark PLA that's not all that glow-in-the-dark. As you can see, it looks very good. The bridging looks fine. There's nothing really wrong with it. There is a bit of a line here, but that appears on all of my benchies on both of my printers, so don't really know how to get rid of that. As well as I have this one here, which is an after print. You can see a little bit of the Z-hop here, but that's nothing else. As well as there's this line through here. That was a slicer problem. But they look basically identical. So in reality, you're not doing this for any ease of quality. However, it does make flexibles easier. It will mean you get less jams as the tube is shorter, as well as things like you'll have less stringing. Obviously, I don't have a stringing problem with my Bowden tube, but if your filaments get a little bit wet, like even PLA can take on a little bit of water, it will help with that. And I mean, it's free, so why not? It doesn't negatively affect quality. It's not hard to do. But if you do print it, so try to avoid using PLA. As I said, I do have the PLA print here, and you can actually see what happened was it bent around the V-roller bolt and bent sideways. And it's not a heated enclosure. It's a little pop-up like photo tent thing that I just stick my printer in for doing polycarbonate. And it made this whole carriage loose, as you saw. And it was actually printing this, so there's a bit of a layer shift. That's why you can see the stepper motor isn't quite flat, but it should work fine. So yeah, overall, this is pretty easy to do, and it will help you tune your printer and print other filaments more easily. So I would definitely recommend doing it. Thanks for stopping by, and catch you guys next time.